Hey, good morning, everyone. How are you doing? Excited to have you here. As we get started, I just want to do a quick tech check and make sure that you can indeed hear me and that you also can see my screen. So on the left-hand side of your screen, you should be able to see a chat box on the left-hand side. And thanks, JR. And if you can drop just a line in there saying, hey, yep, I can hear you. This is what's going on. It would be super helpful. And then I know my tech is working. Awesome. 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 So today we actually, Lisa and I did a good job in my mind, really planning our webinars today because this 8 o'clock a.m. webinar is really about, how do you manage your content? Where do you get content? How can you use that within your marketing plan and where do you go? The second session today at 9:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time is really an overview of all the different places within your marketing tab and how that works. But what I want to really focus on today is how do you go into my saved content and how can you set yourself up to really have this tab be organized well as you're creating content. The second thing I want to focus on is within your contacts, how do you decide who gets what content and how do you organize that piece of it? And then the third thing I want to share with you is we did get some great feedback from our company. Our marketing team here at Back at You has put together some content that you can use, some videos, some images that you can use either in your marketing within your office or on your social media. And so you'll get links to that as well. So I'm very glad that you are all here today, and thank you for spending your morning with me. So as I go in and you're looking at your marketing tab and you go to my saved content, from within this tab, many of you on this call I know have been in the business for a long time. So actually, let's get just an idea as we jump into this. How long have all of you on this call been in the business? If you can just type and drop that into the chat box. Good morning, Lisa. So awesome. So we've got everybody from 6 months. It looks like 20 years is the longest. And as you start and you're creating content within your office, these pages can get long. As you start to scroll through and you look at your content, as you're looking for content, if you've been doing this a long time, Kim just took the boat, by the way, with 44 years. Kim, we're going to be asking you a lot of questions as we go through this. But as you're looking at these and as you're building your content, it can get really long to scroll through pages and pages of content. The other place that this shows up is as you're creating campaigns and you're working on a campaign, and you want to go in and add an event, if you're choosing from your content in this section, this list can also get long. So I'm going to go into my content, and if I have to scroll through all my content, this list can get extremely long as well, especially when you're trying to be efficient. And so what I want to really focus on just quickly is how do you populate this category list so that it's easy to find what you're looking for, either as you're creating my campaigns or as you're looking at your individual content. Because what that list means is I can search by a category that contains property. And as I search, it will pull up anything that I've deemed that property. in that property category. So I have a way to find the content I've created. Now, as you're creating new content, you can go in, I can add content. And as you add new content, it is going to create somewhere for you. So if I wanted to create, let's see, I'm going to go in, I'm going to choose from this category, I'm going to do a letter. And I want to look at the stock letters. Okay, buying, I'm here to ease the process. Maybe I'm going to edit this letter. So I can see here, I can name my content. So I'm going to call this Buyers 2020. But what I think what we often forget to do is that this category name is also something that is editable. So I might call this Prospecting 2020. And now I can go in and I can easily edit my content. Okay, I look at the content. This is what it says. I look forward to working with you. Okay, my email address is automatically getting inserted in, and I can save that content. So as you're creating new content, you can absolutely add a category name. This makes it easier when I am here to see what I've created. Now, if you have content that you've created in the past and you're taking this time when we all have more time at home to really dig in and organize yourself, you may be going into past content, clicking actions and edit. And when you do that, you're editing the content name. So this might be a PDF, or the content name is Home Inspector Email, and the category name is Leads Letter 2020. I do recommend that as you're getting into the business and as you're doing more of this, as you can tell by the timeline in our chat box, that we've got everybody from 6 months to 44 years. And so as you're naming content, it is a really good idea to make sure that you have a date on that content so that you can find what you're looking for, because you can also go in and look for names and just see what 2020 contains. And then I'm narrowing down everything that I have into just 2020. So that is the first part of this, is how do I organize all of my content that I've created in the past so that I can organize it. Now, if you want to go in and you want to delete and clear out content so that you're starting from a better place, you absolutely can do that. You're going to do that by being in that marketing, my content spot, and selecting all and clicking delete. The other thing that I would recommend is, as you're going through this, property flyers are likely something that you can delete, but you probably don't want to delete your letters. And so you can uncheck individual boxes as you go through these if you want to do that. I uncheck those boxes, I click delete, and it's going to delete content for me. So if you haven't cleaned up your content in some time and you want to start with less content in this box, again, use that select all box, uncheck the boxes of what you don't want to delete, and then you can use this delete box in the upper right-hand corner. I think oftentimes we forget about what that looks like and that we can delete content in here, and we let this section just really become a catch-all, and we don't know what we have in this section. Now, I think that, and I would like to know, how many of you struggle with what to create for content? hey, what content can I create? How can I create it? Who needs to get it? When it comes down to just sitting down and creating content for yourself, whether it's social media content or marketing content, email or print content, how many of you have that struggle of, I don't know what content I need to be creating? Because I do think that that is something that in our industry, we do really struggle with, and we do really, um, we don't know. We don't know what content we need. And so it is something that is hard. I'm glad to see that that's not just me. So this is where I start with that, because I do know that all of you have a ton of information in your head. And I think it's very easy for all of us to say, hey, I've got all this information that exists in my head, but I don't know where or why, or how to get it out into to clients that is beneficial for them. So this is where I start. When you go into your customer relations tab and you go into my contacts and leads, as you're looking at any contact, I start to think about the person attached to that. So if I go in and I look at my contact, Harley, for example, Harley is a really real person. She's my cousin. And I start to think about, how can I organize Harley into a contact group so I'm sending her information that she enjoys. So I'm going to edit my contact groups to first do that. And that's how I make my contact groups. Okay, well, Harley is a family member. So I'm going to make a contact group that is a family member. And she also is, she's currently getting her degree in education. So I'm going to type in here a teacher as a contact type. And she also is a local. So she was born and raised in the town where she lives. And she's also an artist. So now I've added those 4 contact types to all of my groups, and I'm going to add them to Harley. So I'm going to say she's an artist. She is a family member. She is a local. And she is also a teacher. And then I'm going to click save. Oh, you know what else she is? She is a homeowner. I feel like one of the questions I always get asked is, how do I find more listings? And one of the biggest answer to that is, talk to people who own their home and build relationships with them before they need you. So now I can say, okay, I've got these contact types. What information is relevant to the people in these contact types? And I can start to make lists. Okay, for the people that are local who have lived here their whole life, what is the information that they find valuable? Well, things like new zoning, new city ordinances, population studies, what's going on with the college. Those are all things that impact our local economy that likely all locals want to know. So what content can I curate about that? Maybe I create an email that's talking about the local events that are going on this month. That would be a really good place to start. So I could do a local events calendar. I might have a local resources page on my website. Do you have a page on your website that talks about, the city hall and the chamber of commerce and a local volunteer organization that you care about that you could send out to that group? Those are all things that you can send out to that local group. When I think about homeowners, how many of you can, we're going to get to that next, Maria. Don't worry. Maria asked, how do you create a local events calendar? And we're going to talk about that next. When I think about homeowners, and I think this is a really big one, especially as you're looking for more listings, How many of you can think of the top 3 questions that homeowners ask you when you go to list their house? If you can think of it, even one question that homeowners ask you when you go to talk about listing their house, drop that question in the chat box so that we can share that. Number 1 question is probably, what is my house worth? What can I do to improve the first impression of my home? What projects can I do to improve the value of my house? What is the market doing? How long do you think my house will be on the market? All of those questions are great places to start generating content around. Each individual question can bring up a good answer. So how do you take the question, what is my house worth, and turn it into content? Because everybody's house is worth a different amount, right? And without seeing a house, you don't really know what that home is worth without running the comps, without walking in it, without smelling it, without touching it. This is how you do that. Determining home value. Hey, Denise, I wanted to reach out to you today and just let you know a few things that real estate agents and appraisers look at when they're helping you decide the market value of your home. Overall condition, market conditions, interest rates, demand. You can write an entire email just on those things. What's great about this is as you're curating your content and you're thinking about this content, you should be thinking about how many channels you can apply it to. So if I'm creating an email to send out to all of my homeowners on the timeline that it takes to sell their home, I want to talk about the current market conditions, the market conditions in the last 5 years and how that has changed, the price ranges that typically go first, and maybe 2 or 3 tips on what they can do if they're thinking of selling their home in the next year to speed up that process. As you're thinking about these things, how, after you know this, how do you go through and create that content is the next step. Before you get to that next step, you need to go through all of your contacts and decide what information they need to receive. Okay, Pam Jank is a referral agent. She is also a homeowner, but because she's a referral agent, do I want to send her that? You know what? She might want my content. She's also a local. Save. I'm going to go to my next contact. Okay, I've got Maddie. She is a cat person. She's in my mom's group, and I'm going to put her in my circle of influence group. Save, next content. So the first step in creating good content is categorizing your contacts in a way that they can receive the content you're generating and you can get a more specific list of what they want to hear. Yeah, what about sending these types of letters to prospects to put them at the top of your mind? I think that Tara, I think oftentimes we get, does everybody hear that question? So the question is, would you send these letters to prospects that you have not met and do not know so that you are at the top of your mind? The answer to that is yes, because I think so often we forget that people don't know what they don't know about the home buying and selling process. And I think that one of the downfalls of our industry is that people don't know what we do on a daily basis to really gain their trust and what it takes to sell their home. They think that we are like the Property Brothers on HGTV, and you see 3 homes and you pick the one you like and you lowball offer And of course, the seller comes back and it works out perfectly and it's easy. And so I would categorize not only my contacts, but also my leads. So if you know that they are a homeowner and a lead, yes, they should get all of the content that your past sellers are also getting. If you know that they are a lead that came in and that they are a teacher because you did your homework and you went on to Facebook and you stalked them, they should be getting all of the information that your teachers are getting. So everybody in your contact list, whether they're a lead or a contact of yours, should be categorized. It makes it much easier to scope down what information you need to create for that person. And when you're creating that content, think of someone in your mind who would want to receive it. After you do that, then you're going to go into this marketing tab and you're going to create your content. So, how do you create a local events calendar? How do you create a letter within the system? How do you use content to leverage it? So, the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to create your content individually. So, let's first talk about creating an events calendar. So as I'm opening up to choose for my content type, the first thing I'm going to do, and the first thing you need to do to create a local events calendar is search events near me this month. And then there will be an events calendar. Now, the state of our country right now, obviously there are less events than normally would be taking place. And currently, like if I look at April, so if I go in and I look at the April events calendar, there's very little scheduled on this. This is from the local chamber of commerce. But as we return to normal here in the coming months, you'll be able to go chambers of commerce. Your chamber of commerce is a great reference. You'll be able to go in and see all of the upcoming events. So go to your chamber of commerce, find upcoming events that are happening, and then within your Back at You office, choose the content template that you want to use. So you might want to just do, maybe you want to do 3 upcoming events, or if you want to do a blank content, you can do that too. I'm going to say, I'm going to choose this one. So I'm going to call this April upcoming local events. And I'm going to call this, I'm going to categorize this so that it stays organized when I go to find it. I'm going to categorize it as events 2020. Then I'm going to go in, anything that shows with an image here is an image that needs to be filled. I can either upload my own images, I can select from past images that I have used, or if your company has uploaded images, you can use that company uploaded images. I'm going to go to my computer. I'm going to add a file. Let's see. And I'm just going to add an image. I add it in. It tells me what size it needs to be. I click save and it enters in. Then below here, I can make a list. I can enter things into the text, or I go to this event and I say, oh, look, there's an art walk every Friday. Every first Friday of the month, there's an art walk. Or it looks like there's an art walk, an Aspire community theater event that's happening. And I'm going to type that information in, looking for upcoming art shows. Here is what is coming soon near us. And then I'm going to put in a bulleted list of April 4th. Here's the event. April 17th. Here's the event. And I'm going to do the same thing for each column. So I might have an art show column, I might have a family event column, and I might have a outdoors event column. So you could have all your art walks, you could have all your family events, and then maybe you have all your 5K and hiking events here. You could have all three of those in. I click save, and now that content has been created. Again, take some time and be creative with what you want to do. Maybe you want to display it a different way and none of the content types that we have work. You want to create your own table. Can you do that? Sure. I'm going to choose my blank content and I'm going to call this, maybe I'm going to do a spring calendar, events 2020. And I'm going to enter in a table that looks like a calendar. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 by 4. And I'm going to put in April 1st, art walk downtown. April 2nd, race for life. I can put these all in. The other thing that you can do is if you have a link to the event, so if the association has a link to the event, I can actually copy that link and I could hyperlink it in. I could highlight the text, hyperlink it in, put the URL in, and say, open this in a new window. You can, Krista. That's exactly where I was going. So now this is hyperlinked through for each and every event that I'm doing. So there are a lot of ways that you can do this. You also can format your table so that if you want to add, a style or a background or a border color, you can do that. This is a little more advanced. You need a hex color code to do that. But you absolutely can do that so you can link through. Does that answer your question, Maria, about how you create a local events calendar and a couple different ways that you can do it? And Krista, does that make sure? Yeah. My internet was lost for some seconds. I lost where the icon is. I save content. Yeah, Google events near you, find the local events, format them the way that you would like. Here's the other thing. You can add images to each of these boxes. So if I want to add my own image in here, say, hey, I want to add this image. You can insert an image into each box. You're going to copy and paste that link. So the question was, I just want to make sure, can you just drag and drop the link into the program? What you do is you go to the event page that is happening, whether it's on the Chamber's website or on your website, wherever it is. You click Control X or Command X if you're a Mac user. You highlight your text that you want to hyperlink. And I'm going to insert that link, which is Control V. I'm going to say I open it in a new window or Command V, and now I've got a hyperlink here. Awesome. So once you've created that information, and notice that there's no borders. So when I talk about putting in the borders here, if I want to do the border color, I'm just going to Google a hex color. Border color. Okay, okay. Now, what do I do with it? I've created it. What can I do with this calendar? You can save and get the HTML code. You can save and print it. You can save and email it out, or you can save and share it. So when I say, think about not only who you're sending this to, but what are your channels going to be for that? For something like a local events calendar, this is a great thing to email out and to save and share on social media. I can save and share this on social media. When I click this button, it's going to open up with a screen that says, how do you want to share this on social? Or you can just download the image. That is one way. I can just save it and I can attach it to an email campaign. But for each piece of content that you're creating, you need to also be thinking about, okay, this is the who of who gets this content. But there's also the where. Are they getting it in their email? Are they getting it in their mailbox? Are they getting it on their social media? Are they getting it all three ways? Because the more people see you and the more people see that information, the more they remember you. And so that is really the second facet of how to create that content. Cecilia, that content to get to this screen, if you go into marketing, my saved content, and then we created new content up here in the upper right-hand corner. Krista, did that answer your question? And I also think that we all get really caught up in, hey, I need to be the originator of all the information. And you don't need to be the originator of all the information. You need to be someone who is going out, you're doing your research, you're interpreting what you know into how it affects your business, and you're sharing your knowledge. If it's a local event and you have a relationship with your chamber, what a great way to share that you have that relationship and direct people to their website and share with your contacts what's going on there. It is always good practice to give people credit if they're doing it, but sharing good information is good information. And reading and knowing more about your industry. And for example, like going into your flex. So you don't need to be the resource, or your MLS. You don't need to be the resource for everything that's happening in the market. You can go in, you can log into your flex and look at those market trends that are happening. Hey, let's look at the year-over-year comparison. Here's all the data, but now how do you interpret this data into a digestible form for your client? Because as a client, this for me is overwhelming. Maria, Flex is the MLS that I use here. So you might have a different MLS system. So you would log into your MLS, look at your data that is in there, and then say, okay, I'm going to write a letter to my current homeowners about what's happening in the market year over year. Okay, and have it be a conversational style that it is a personal relationship. So if I'm going to create that letter for the market update, and I want to do it in a letter form, I'm going to call this letter 2020. And I'm going to write that letter using some of these add to text items up here. Okay, contact first name. Can you believe the first quarter is ending? I wanted to give you a market update on what the temperature of sales are, and a few tricks and tips. So I'm going to write that first. Then say, hey, I'm going to maybe do insert. Maybe I'm going to insert a table here. Okay, home sales are, home sold, this, and I can put some statistics in here. Then I might put a few thinking of selling. These are the 3 things that you can do to make your home sell faster. These are the 3 things you can do to increase your home's value. These are the 3 things you should be doing as we move into a spring season to take care of your home, or whatever those things are, so that it's good information. Now, the other item that you can do is there are newsletters built into the system. So if you go in to add content and you want to do a quarterly newsletter on several items, we have created some of those templates for you. If you go in, back at you templates, category, and scroll to the bottom, and I'm going to say, hey, I need to do a newsletter. There is a newsletter template that will auto insert your information, and you can edit all of this information. Inventory, days on market, how many closings, what are some of the real estate trends, what's happening with home prices, headline area of what's happening, and then a letter to your clients. So there are some templates to do this. So Maria, that's a good question to talk to your office manager about. Where do you find the updated information for this? As far as for the home prices and the stats, that you're going to find in your MLS. But this is about using the resources that you have available to you through your board, your association, through your office, from your MLS, from articles you've read. Maybe in this letter you're writing, here are the top 3 questions. Hello, contact first name. It seems this month that I am being asked the 3 common questions quite often. 1, what is happening in real estate? 2, is real estate affected? 3, are people still buying? I wanted to take this time to get you some information about it. 1, what's happening in real estate? The real estate market is still moving. This is what we anticipate will happen. Rates are still great, yada, yada, yada. Is real estate affected? Yes, we are all affected by what's happening going on. However, we're taking the necessary precautions to make sure that we're taking care of our clients. And in many areas, real estate is still an essential business. Are people still buying? Yes, people are still buying, and contracts that were written, a month ago are still closing. So we anticipate that we will continue to see people buy homes. To see more information about market statistics, see what I've written down below. And there's that information. Again, you can save and print this, save and email it, and save and share it. Maria, you will get a copy of this recording. So yes, I will send it to you, but I will not send it to you in written form. So doing your research, doing your homework, reading, digging into statistics. How many of you read the National Association of Realtors reports on buyers and sellers every year? How many of you buy that report? No is usually the answer that I get. So if you don't buy it, know that I'm fully anticipating that everybody on this call is going to say, no, they don't get it. Oh, good. A few of you do. So that's a great resource for you as well. As you're looking for information about, who is buying and selling, how long does it take? All of that information is in the National Association of Realtors report, and that is a great resource for you. Now, the other thing that I do want to share with you, and you are going to get a copy of this today, is Back at You has created some real estate content for you to share on your social media to encourage conversation. So things like, what books have you started reading in the last week? What are some indoor activities? So if you're looking for some imagery and information to go with it, all of this information will be sent out to you in the email recap with the recording. So what are some things that you can share during this time that are great resources for you to generate conversations on your websites? Will that be auto-populated into the content that Back At You generates? Jamie, I don't know the answer to that. I do not believe that it is. I believe that this was created as content for people who are maybe not using the full platform. So some of you on this call do have access to the social media side of Back At You. Some of you on this call do not have access and are not clients of the social media side of the platform. And that content I just shared with you was really created for anyone in the real estate industry to use on their social media platform. The other place you can use that is in those images. If you're going to go in and use content, create content, and you're looking for, a header image to go in, you can use it there as well. So you could use it as a header image here or here or here to use. Good question, Jamie. So that is 40 minutes of insane amounts of information. Where do you even begin? So the first place you're going to begin is underneath your contacts, doing some cleanup and going in and making sure that you are checking the boxes that apply to each individual contact and lead so you know what content to send them. Then you're going to go into your marketing and you're going to focus on just one contact type and create one or two pieces of content for that contact type. Then if you would like to send it out in a campaign, you can go in, you can create a marketing campaign. That's going to be covered in the session that's happening at 9:30 this morning. Or if you want to just one-off share a piece of content, you can go in and you can save and print that, you can save and email it out, or you can save and share it. That's where you begin, is who are the people, what information do they need, and how am I going to get it to them? And perhaps for you today, what you're doing is categorizing your contacts and then saying and creating some lists for every contact type and saying, these are the 3 pieces that I need for my homeowners. These are the pieces that I need for my family members. These are the pieces that I need for my mom's group. Okay, this is the timeline that I'm going to create them in. Awesome. Jamie, so the best way to send to only that contact group is to go in and create an email marketing campaign and have that campaign named for that group. So every campaign would have, every contact type would have its own campaign. Okay, my referral agent campaign, my outdoor lovers campaign, my sellers campaign. When you're within that campaign, you're going to be in there, you're going to add recipients, and you can add contact types. Okay, this is my sellers. I'm going to add all my sellers to this campaign type and click finish. So every campaign would have its own contact type. Does that answer your question, Jamie? The nice thing about that is you are seeing all the statistics. MyIQ Office. So when I go to myiqoffice.com and I go into my marketing campaigns, you can see all the statistics for that entire campaign, as well as statistics for the individual events. So you can track what you're doing. Yeah, how do you track anniversary dates for content to send for buyers? Do you mean, Maria, do you mean home anniversary dates? Or awesome. So within your customer relations, on every contact or lead, at the very bottom of the screen, there is a section that says transactions, and you can put a transactional date into this box. When you do that and you're working within a campaign, you can add an event based on the transaction date. So I can go in, I'm going to choose my content type. Let's say holiday, whatever it is, home anniversary. I choose this one, and I can send after this transaction date, and I can choose to send it after that transaction date. The transaction date itself is pulling from the contact transaction section. Awesome. Maria, does that answer your question? This is a great time to look at your contacts, organize your contacts, look at the marketing you've done, organize that marketing content that you've done. Start figuring out what are the pieces that you want to send out over the next quarter and scheduling out your next quarter of events to go out to your contacts. Know that every contact may have more than one contact type. And so you likely only need one email a month per contact type. But this is where you start organizing that part of it. Jamie, the question is, how would I apply it to all contacts, or would you just apply it to home buyers only? Jamie, what I think you're asking is, for that transactional date, would you only apply it to the people that you have sold a home to that were your buyers? Or if you knew everybody's transaction date within your database, would you apply it to all of them? Is that your question? Jamie, is that your question? I just want to make sure I'm understanding fully what your question is. And this would be my answer. And I'm going to base it on statistics. The National Association of Realtors says that 88% of people who are buying a second home or selling their home are using a different agent than the one they purchased it with. And so for everybody in my database, I would be sending out a happy home anniversary card to all of them. Whether I represented them or not, buying a house is a big deal. I want them to be my client for life. Whether I sold them the home, whether they're friends of mine in another area, I want to be their trusted source for real estate information. Yeah, no problem. Other questions as we start to wrap up? I know that this is a lot of information. I want to make sure that I am being respectful of your time and everything that you've got going on. If this session was daunting for you and there was a lot of information and you didn't know where to go, know that our 9:30 a.m. session this morning is going to be going through everything under this marketing tab and will be a really good review for you. You can always see all of our sessions at our Zoho page. I'm going to share that with you right now. Let me just pull it up really quickly. So you can always see that here underneath showtime.backatyou.com. This lists all of our sessions. You also can always find information on our YouTube channel. Which is here. All of our webinars are posted here. This is a great resource for you, particularly because you can search. So if you want to know more about marketing, you can type in marketing in the search bar, and all of the videos about marketing that have been done in the last almost 2 years are available for you. And then we also do have a Facebook group that we would love to have you join. It is called Back at You Office Mastermind. And this is a great place to be able to get information, ask questions. This is really a place for questions and answers. And we would love to have you join the conversation here as well. All of these links that I'm dropping in the chat box, if you click on them, they will open in a separate window, so you will not lose this chat bar. But I would highly recommend joining us all 3 places so that you can really make the most out of your back office and everything that's available to you. Any other questions before we wrap up today? Alrighty, if there are no other questions, I want to thank you all so much for joining me. I hope you have a great week, and I will talk to you soon.